Hello, everyone, and welcome to Read Your World Celebrates Black History Month. It is 7:01 right now, so I'm going to give it like a minute or so to see if anyone logs in. If not, we're going to get started, because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're located at. And if you can kindly just share in the chat where you're logging in from, if you're a teacher, librarian, parent, let us know. Mhm. Mhm. Big Sacramento. Oh, okay, Marita, Diana. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so Gabby, didn't you
Kelly from
also
Chicago.
win a? Wait a second. I think your name is familiar. Did you win one of the bundles from Read Your World Day? Because your name. Oh
Oh,
yes,
yes, you're right.
yes. I thought so. That is going in the mail very, very soon. So I'll send you an email about that one.
I love seeing all these teachers and a principal.
Yes.
So great.
Yeah. Hi,
And author.
Gabby. Hi, Maritza. Hi, Lakeisha.
Lakeisha, so you're in South Carolina. Where are you in South Carolina? I'm from
Yes.
South Carolina.
Oh, awesome. I am here in Greenville, South Carolina, so upstate.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm in Orangeburg. Happy to have you here.
Yeah.
I'm excited to join you all tonight.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So whoever comes in next, they can just join us. Let me close this out here. Again, welcome to Read Your World Celebrates Black History Month. This event will be recorded, for others to enjoy because I know it's a weekday. It's actually Tuesday after a holiday. So I know a lot of people still checked out. Okay, so welcome on behalf of the Read Your World team, Mia Wengen. She's our co-founder and president. She couldn't be with us today, but she sends us her well wishes and she will watch a recording afterward. Then we have Liana Guillen Mora. She is our social media guru and manager. And yours truly, Francis Diaz Adams. Okay, a few housekeeping items. You can enable the closed captioning. Let me get out of here. And everyone will be on mute except for the host. But of course, when we have our Q&A, you can unmute yourself and ask a question. And you already know that this event is being recorded. And again, welcome. So let us know if you haven't. Where are you from? Are you a parent, educator, librarian, author? Let us know in the chat. And also, we have another giveaway as well for this event. So you can ask questions and or drop comments in the chat box for a chance to win one of the three giveaway bundles. Okay, so you got to participate, ask questions or comment, maybe, after each presenter. And then the winners will be selected randomly at the end of the event. So make sure you're still here with us. Okay, so Black History Month is honored to spotlight the stories, voices, and contributions of Black authors and communities around the world. We're excited to have these amazing guests with us today. So, what do you hope to get out of this session? To all the participants, this is a chance for you to participate also in the giveaway. What do you hope to get out of this session? We'd love to know. Okay. Now, I'm going to present to you our first guest. Let me spotlight her. Oh, wait. Oh, Didi, you're right here. Okay. For a minute there, I thought I lost you. Okay, spotlight for everyone. So I'm going to spotlight her, but I'm going to read her author bio. So Didi Cummings is an author, therapist, attorney, and a mom from Louisville, Kentucky. And in 2014, she founded Makeaway Media to publish books centered on hope, diversity, social justice, and therapeutic tools after struggling to find stories that reflected her own children's experiences. Her work has been featured in major media outlets, including HuffPost, Forbes, NPR, and Essence, and appointed to the Kentucky Early Childhood Advisory Council in 2021 and reappointed in 2025. She is also the founder of the Louisville Book Festival and a passionate advocate for literacy, as a fundamental human right. Her new book, Hope in the Nick of Time, published in 2025, continues her popular series In the Nick of Time, focused on restoring hope for young readers. And she's also our longtime Super Platinum sponsor. So thank you, Dee Dee. And
Thank you.
if anyone wants to find more information on Dee Dee, help yourself. You can scan that QR code and it'll take you directly to her website, or you can click on the link that Liana is dropping in the chat.
Thank you, Francis. I think, isn't this day celebration by Read Your World acknowledging the importance of Black History Month? This is your idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm
Thank you so
excited.
much for having all of us tonight. This is when people attend Read Your World, the comment that is the most consistent for the past 10 years is, why don't we do more of this? So
Mhm.
to me, I feel like we're getting another little mini Read Your World night tonight with the bundles and everything. It's very exciting.
Definitely. And let me tell you, this was a real marathon to get together because we were having Read Your World at the same time as
Yes.
we were planning Black History Month. But here we are. So thank you so much, everyone who's here. And of course, our guest authors. So, Dee Dee, I have this question for you. Okay, so both Kayla, a modern day princess, and In the Nick of Time center little brown children discovering their power, whether through pursuing big dreams or choosing kindness and service. So, what draws you to writing characters who redefine what it means to be a princess or a hero, and why is that reframing so important for young readers?
Um, That's a huge question, but so important, especially for what we're talking about tonight. Um, I'm sure that pretty much every author who's on tonight can attest to the fact that we didn't have a lot of books like this when we were growing up, and so it's exciting to be in a time where we do get to see so many Black and Brown stories amplified. Um, and we still don't have enough, we still need more, but it is exciting to see so many stories about Black and brown children, especially with them being the protagonist, come to light. And again, I just want to give a special shout out. I'm a huge fan of Mia and Read Your World, but also of Leanna and you, Francis, for all of the work that you do to make sure that people, not just across this country, but across the world,
Mhm.
hear about these stories. So thank you again for having us all on tonight so that we can talk about something we're all very passionate about. And I was thinking about what I was going to talk about tonight, and this question specifically, in light of what's happening in our country,
Mhm.
because so much of what is happening in our country right now is, it feels like a lot of the progress that our country has made, it feels like it is going backwards. But I want to inspire everyone who might be feeling a little discouraged about that to know that, this is our chance to really amp it up. Don't withdraw, and don't feel overwhelmed, and don't um, withdrawn to your shell. For anyone who's on tonight who has not written a book but has wanted to, this is your time. This is your opportunity to share your story. And for me, the stories that I share through Makeaway Media, which I started 12 years ago now, which is unbelievable. I started 12 years ago after having trouble finding um, stories. I found a lot of stories that looked like my kids, but the
Mhm.
problem was I had read a lot of them. And if you want to create a robust library, we have to, as a community, continue to celebrate the work that is being published and continue to publish more so that our children have plenty of stories to choose from. And I write books about little Black and brown children who are princesses and heroes, because forever we saw princesses and heroes framed in very narrow ways. And we see that, in what's happening with our country now, that we get these messages through a lot of different sources that only certain people belong, or that heroes only look a certain way. Princesses only look a certain way. And if you ask little kids to draw pictures of everything from doctors to princesses to heroes, a lot of times they don't draw characters who look like them.
Mhm.
So it's important for us to write those stories and put Black and Brown children in those stories so that they begin to understand and accept and acknowledge that these characters and these stories do reflect their experiences. And it matters not just because children need to build identity from what they see, but they also need to understand that they belong. They belong not only in this story, they belong in this country. And I want children to see that power looks like more than crowns and capes. Power looks like compassion. Power looks like resilience. Power looks like imagination and community and self belief. And all of that is what makes someone look like a hero to me. So again, thank you all so much for having us on tonight and for reminding children through stories that these stories give us hope and help us explain to children that they're exactly the kind of person that this world needs.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Dee Dee. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
the words.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. So if you have any questions for Dee Dee, please drop them in the comments, or we can leave it for the end, and you can unmute yourself, okay?
I see Gabby's comment that she read Hope in the Nick of Time for Read Your World Day. Thank you, Gabby. She said it
Oh,
was a
awesome.
wonderful book for all kids to realize it's not always about material things. I love the Xbox box reference as a fifth grade teacher.
Mhm.
It's about looking around and noticing all the little things. Thank you. You get it. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, so now our next guest, let me spotlight her, is Tanya Duncan Ellis. So Tanya is the author of the SCBWI Crystal Kite Honor winning picture book, They Built Me for Freedom, the story of Juneteenth and Houston's Emancipation Park from HarperCollins, and the upcoming Cookout Chemistry from Charles Bridge coming out in 2027, part of the STEAMworks series celebrating kids exploring STEAM in playful ways. She is also the author of the award-winning Sophie Washington chapter book series, Multicultural Stories for ages 8 to 10 that tackle real-life middle school issues from bullying and peer pressure to social media and the first crushes with a Texas twist. And the series entertains, educates, and inspires and is available in print, ebook, and audiobook. So if you would like to learn more about Tanya and her work, you can scan the QR code. Liana's also dropping her link in the chat box.
Okay.
Now, question for Tanya. So, in They Built Me for Freedom, Emancipation Park says they built me to remember. So, preserving the legacy of Juneteenth and generations of celebration, protest, and joy, while in the Sophie Washington series, you focus on a young girl navigating friendship, identity, and growing up. So, why do you think it's important to talk and write about Black history and Black joy for our readers?
Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me, Francis and Lana. Thank you for this question. I love Dee Dee's response and what she talked about, and I concur with everything that she has said. And for me, I think it's important to talk about Black history and Black joy for all readers because Black history is American history. And I love it that we're gathered together, that we celebrate Black history in February. I'm always so enthusiastic and just on February 1st, I'm ready to go. But it kind of saddens me that we're at the 100-year mark from the beginning of Negro History Week. So it's kind of like the 100-year anniversary of Black History Month. And we're still relegated to this month when we talk about learning about Black achievement and contribution. And even when I look back to when I was a little girl, like Dee Dee said, most of the books that taught or books that I read did not start characters that looked like me. They didn't center my history or my reality. So it's kind of sad to me that we're still in kind of in that space. And it's important when we look at the book banning, we look at the efforts to mute Black voices, the efforts to mute Black history, that we continue to talk about Black history, to learn about our achievement and contribution so that Black children can realize where they're from, realize the impact that their ancestors had on this nation where we're all Americans. Without the contributions of enslaved African Americans, the United States wouldn't be the superpower that it is today. So this achievement is important for all of us to know about, for all ethnicities. It's important for a Black child to see that, to reflect themselves, and also for other people to have empathy and understanding about the trials and tribulations of other people. So that's why I myself love to write about my history and culture. With my Sophie Washington series, I centered Black Joy. They're contemporary stories about a tween character and her diverse group of friends. So they go through common things that all kids experience. Most of them don't talk about any kind of racial issues except one in the 13-book series. Sophie Washington Class Retreat has the children being discriminated against. Most of them kind of talk about just joyful times and they solve problems in each book in the series. But with my book, They Built Me for Freedom, the story of Juneteenth in Houston's Emancipation Park, I personify the park and take you on a journey through essentially Black history in America, where we learn about how the park came to be in its own voice. We talk about the civil rights movement. We talk about other issues in Black American history. So you learn about it in the child's story. And it's important for us to continue writing these type books for all children so that they can learn so many stories that have been untold. I live in Texas, and in history books here in our state, enslaved people are called workers in some schools. So until those things change, we need to continue with writing these type stories. And there's been a movement where people say they don't want to hear about the trauma, they don't want to hear about all these, the sad things, which I myself, I'm scared of the Wizard of Oz. So I don't like scary things, I don't like sad things, but we need to know the history that had disenfranchised many Americans and that gave privilege to others. We need to know this so that we can erase a lot of the mistrust, hate, and misunderstanding that we see in our country today. So that's why I think it's important for us authors to write and talk about Black history. And for all of us, just as Dee Dee said, if you have a story that you feel needs to be told, I encourage you all to write. We need to continue to tell our stories, not to be discouraged with the banning. Things will change, different movements change, and it's important that we continue to research and share these stories with everyone for the benefit of us all.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. So drop any questions for Tanya in the chat box. And again, you can ask her at the end. We'll have a Q&A session. Our next guest is Nina. Let me go spotlight Nina just a minute. Okay, so Nina Cruz is an award-winning children's book author and illustrator whose debut, One Hot Summer Day, was published in 1995. The daughter of celebrated creators Donald Cruz and Ann Jonas, she continues a family tradition of making picture books for young readers. Known for her distinctive photo collage style, Nina now creates digitally rendered and collage illustrations. Her books include I'm Not Small, A Girl Like Me, Not Done Yet, The Girl Not Like Me, Not Done Yet, Shirley Chisholm's Fight for Change, and The Extraordinary Magic, The Storytelling Life of Virginia Hamilton, among others. Her work has received numerous honors, including the 2023 Empire State Award, and her newest titles are Big Family Beach Day and Liftoff, which connects the Apollo 10 mission to artist Alma Thomas's work. Okay, so if you want to check out her website, you can scan the QR code. It's going to be available on the next slide as well. So question for you, Nina. Your books introduce young readers to change makers like Alma Thomas and Shirley Chisholm, while also honoring everyday childhood moments and family traditions. Why is it important to you that children see both extraordinary history makers and ordinary joyful experiences reflected in stories they read?
Thank you so much, Francis. And thank you, Leanna and Mia, who's not here, but all of you for inviting me to be part of this tonight. And it's been a pleasure listening to both Dee Dee and Tanya answer their questions. And I see all the overlap in what we've been asked to talk about, which is really nice. I think the first most biggest confession is, of course, since I've had the pleasure of doing this for 30 years now, it's always been a process that doesn't have a real plan in mind, and really is very much inspired by and motivated by what motivates me, kind of the conversation that I want to have with the world. So from my point of view, it has always been important that I have stories that feature and share the Black experiences, because there are so many of them, Black children. So that has always been important to me, to have them be actors in a lot of the stories that I create. And only more recently have I started really delving into nonfiction stories. And that's been really exciting and fun for me as well. So just to, I guess, kind of one thing I thought about as I was mulling over this question is, one of the things I feel is most important and kind of, I'd say, a through line for everything I do, whether it's a book like One Hot Summer Day or I'm Not Small, or Extraordinary Magic about Virginia Hamilton, is to show how children can have agency in the world. And I think that that is vitally important for all children, and for Black and brown children, white children, all of them, to see that reflected in the stories I create is something that I get very excited about, and I find very moving to just have that out there. And just to be a little bit more specific about what that means is, so say we take I'm Not Small. It's a simple story about a little boy, and he goes and explores in his garden, but he's a little anxious. He's 3. He doesn't go out in the backyard by himself with the pets, but through kind of his comparing himself to his pets and the things outside, he kind of realizes that he's big. He gets agency about being outside. Or another family moment is Big Family Beach Day. And here we have Maya, who introduces the story, and Maya is our beach expert. And I recently talked to some first graders, and I asked them, well, what are you an expert in? And all of the kids were very excited to let me know what they were an expert in. And so this story is written in that expert voice. So a kid can say, here, this is who I am. This is what I have to show. Because books are windows. Books are invitations, openings to ideas and to, the curiosity that children have. And then to follow up with some nonfiction along the same idea. In writing Extraordinary Magic, as I read Virginia Hamilton's speeches and many of her papers, she over and over again emphasized how important her childhood was to her future writing, how much the stories she heard, her family, her experiences in the small town she lived in, Ohio, all of those things. So I wrote it with this point of view of, what does it mean to become a writer? And because clearly Virginia Hamilton wanted others to know what it meant for her to become a writer. So I said, here, this is for all those kids who want to know, well, what does it mean? What are those tools you pick up, that notebook you get, and all those things? And then to go to Liftoff, which is the most recent one. And in this book, we have, Alma Thomas, who was born in the horse and buggy days in the 1960s, when the astronauts were doing the first moon missions. She was in her 70s, and she's sitting in her home in Washington, D.C., listening to the radio and watching TV about the moon missions. She was so excited and thrilled by this idea. Now, mind you, I'm not sure if she ever flew in an airplane. She went to Europe once and took a boat. She's so excited about all of this possibility and energized by it. She's listening to the soundtrack of 2001 Space Odyssey while she paints. So she paints these pictures. Oh, and behind me, we have the end papers here from the book, inspired by the Apollo moon missions. And she is a modern artist. So abstract art doesn't look like anything you've seen, doesn't look like the world as it is. So I'm kind of trying to show that a little bit here. And that to me is also agency, both the incredible work that was done by the scientists and astronauts and engineers of NASA to even make that leap, and the work that someone can say, you didn't invite me to this party, but I'm here. And I'm here, and this is what I can get from that story. So that to me is really, I'd say, a lot of what motivates the work that I do.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. So questions for Nina, we can ask at the end of the Q&A. Thank you so much. And then we have our guest, Lisa D. Brathwaite. Let me spotlight her. Okay, just a minute. Lisa is a purveyor of creative self-expression. She loves playing dress up still. Her family finding herself in art spaces and writing whatever suits her in a given moment. So Miles of Styles, Eunice W. Johnson, and the Ebony Fashion Fair is her debut children's book. Lisa studied family and community development at the University of Maryland at College Park, graduating with a degree in community studies and a concentration in public policy in the Black community. She's a New Jersey native and has been designing her adult life in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. So, and I did want to make a little parenthesis here. Someone shared that the QR codes are leading straight to Tanya's website. Apologies for that. So Liana is sharing the links of all the authors in the chat box. So you can click on those and make sure you bookmark them, okay? Thank you. So now question for Elisa. So Miles of Styles introduces young readers to Eunice W. Johnson's vision of beauty, fashion, and representation. What made you feel that her story was especially important for today's children, and what do you hope they take away about confidence, creativity, and very important standards of beauty?
Thank you so much. Again, I'm just delighted to be a part of this event today. And amongst my fellow author panelists, I'm learning as I'm listening to them. So I'm in fabulous company, fangirling here. So thank you for this time, and thank you for this opportunity to share something about Eunice W. Johnson. She is affectionately and respectfully known by those who knew her as Mrs. Johnson. So if you hear me referring to her in that way, that is why. But I wanted to tell her story because for a number of reasons. First and foremost was I grew up looking at copies of Ebony magazine. So most people, if you were a part of growing up in the Black or Brown communities, you knew about Ebony magazine, you knew about Jet magazine, you maybe received a subscription at your home, or maybe you went to the beauty shop or the barber shop and you'd see a copy there. And I remember just always having Ebony. Me, myself, my grandfather made sure that my family had a subscription. But it was something that I felt like we all kind of knew about, but we really didn't know about, myself included. And so it took me on a journey to learn more about the origin story of Ebony magazine and the people behind it. And I started because of a number of reasons, but number one, I love libraries and I love museums. So one day I went to a museum and I saw this exhibit called 50 Years of Inspiring Beauty, and it was about the Ebony Fashion Fair. And I realized it was in town. I didn't realize it had been in my city. And I knew about it originating in Chicago, didn't see it there. But then here in Atlanta, I learned the last day that it was here, it was closing. And I said, ah, so I ran down there and breezed through it just before it closed. And I said, this is an amazing story. And I'm thinking, people need to know about this story. So I just, as like I said, former library kid, I just researched everything. I love Google. It makes things easy just to find something. But I just dug in. And the more I learned, the more I was like, wow, what am I going to do with this information? People need to know. And so I was inspired because it was Black History Month, that I was seeing about a young mentee of mine at her elementary school, and she was a kindergartner named Kelly. And we would typically meet in the library for our mentoring session. So as I was there, I was looking at the Black History Month display of all the books, and Kelly came traipsing in, and I asked her, I said, Kelly, I said, would you like to read any of the books here on the table? Now, granted, this was back in 2014. So at the time, she said no. And I said, well, Kelly, why not? I was a little taken aback by her response. And she said, and now again, it's a child, but she said, no, they're boring. And I said, huh. And again, I was like, how can you say it's boring? This is your history, you know? So, but then I thought about it and I was looking at the titles and I was saying, hmm, what kind of book would appeal to a child like Kelly? And I really took her in that moment. And one observation I always had was that she was always color coordinated and she wore sparkly clothes and shoes that lit up and that sort of thing. And it kind of clicked for me in that moment that I said, you know, Kelly might like a book about the Ebony Fashion Fair and Eunice Johnson, who was a stylish woman in her own right. And that's what got me to writing. And it's not listed here, but I ended up, for those authors here, or soon to be authors, or kicking it around in their mind authors here on the call, I would encourage you. I was in your place and I just wrote this manuscript. I was tooling around with it. And then I learned about Lee and Low and their New Voices Award, and they had a call for manuscripts. And one of my friends said, you should do this, you should send it in. And I submitted it, and lo and behold, I won. Hadn't written anything before that, but I was a new voice, and they seemed to see that there was some merit to this story. And so that was a journey to get it finally published 2 years ago. But I say that to say, be encouraged, authors who are considering, as my fellow panelists have said, you have a story that's uniquely yours to tell, and things converge such that you are the one to bring it into the world. And so it was just truly my honor to write this book, and it's a love letter of sorts. I am not by any stretch of the imagination. People tend to think this. I do like to still dress up, but my closet is not filled with designer labels. And I like quality clothes, but I'm really not that fashion person. But what drew me to the story was that fashion certainly is a way to express yourself. It's a way to make yourself feel a certain way and present a certain aura to the world on how you're feeling. And any given day, I feel like what you put on kind of reflects where you are or where you want to be. And so for children, I thought her story, which was one of creating a magazine with her husband that told the stories of Black and Brown people in a positive light, because it wasn't really the case back when they first started publishing with Johnson Publishing Company. And for her, she as a child, fashion was her thing. She would sew. And so it's that love of sewing that then grew into what can I do for my community? And her parents were very big on education. So they said, if you want to make a difference in the world, get an education. And so she did. And in doing that, she went to Chicago. She was originally from Selma, but she went to Chicago, met her husband, John H. Johnson, there. And then the rest was history. But in publishing Ebony, Negro Digest first, and then Ebony Magazine, she went back to her original love of fashion. And she created this fashion fair column, which then in time grew into the Ebony Fashion Fair. So I say that to say, for children, you just never know. Whatever that is that you're interested in as a child, and for the adults that are surrounding them in that community, I think it is important to encourage them in whatever that may be. Because when she was sewing clothes for her dolls, who knew that it would turn into something that was a fundraiser that helped many people go to college, helped many organizations support their community in many ways. So I feel like encouraging young people, first of all, to pursue their passions. I thought that was important. And I wanted them to explore their creativity as it relates to that. I feel like when you find your thing, and even if it's not your thing for forever, whenever you find your thing and you're working in that, you build your confidence. and it
Mhm.
helps you grow as a person. And I feel like in your pouring into that, you inevitably pour into others. And I think that that's something I know myself. Um, I was actually asked to be a young model. My great grandmother put me up to it. And the way I was able to do it, my first and only time, I'm 5'2", so there was no there was no future for me in modeling. But I did as a child. I was in this fashion show. It was a favor to my great grandmother for her church friends. And I had no idea what that even meant, but I heard modeling and I remembered, oh, there are models in that
Mhm.
magazine on our coffee table. So I was flipping through the pages of Ebony magazine and just watching the models pose. And so I said, okay, I'll just do what I saw in the pictures. And that's what I did. And for the crowd, they were just like, ah, look at this little girl. And I tell you, it's the littlest thing, but I was terrified to walk out there in front of that crowd. But in doing that, it sowed a seed of confidence that has just grown over the years. So you just never know. It's always just the little things. And it was important to me to also share this story because it's an intergenerationally shared thing.
Mhm.
So my great grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, and even now my daughter, like all of them poured into me and were some sort of influence as it relates to fashion. And so in doing the research for the book, I often came across people who would say, oh, I remember going to the Ebony Fashion Fair with my grandmother. Oh, I remember my mother taking me and my sisters. And it was always just an intergenerational sort of connection. And I love that. And I think that that's something else that is of value when we look at our families, Black and brown families, lots of things of our culture are passed down intergenerationally. And so Ebony Magazine, it is now still in existence. It's electronic. And one of the things I kind of miss about having a magazine is just having something tangible that you can hold in your hand. But this is the way of the world now. But it's just one of those things where a magazine was something that you could share. And there are people today who still have collections of issues of Ebony magazine. And I think that's important, just as books are, that we be the keepers of these sorts of things so that we can pass them along to the younger generation. And then as far as standards of beauty, I mean, back when Ebony came out and when the Ebony Fashion Fair came about, it was a new concept. It was not something that was, Black beauty was not something that was celebrated. In many cases, when Mrs. Johnson would go to Paris to buy fashions to use in her Ebony fashion fairs back at home, a lot of the designers were hesitant to show their work to her. They were hesitant to even have her come into the shows. And she did not let that stop her. She didn't wait to be invited. She just expanded the world on her own. And I think that's something else that children can take from her story, that you don't have to wait for someone to say you are beautiful. You can have that inner knowing of yourself and say, I am going to show up and you will see me. And if you don't see me, that's okay because I see me. And I think that's important as well. So I could go on, but I feel like I've talked
Well,
enough.
thank you. Thank you so much. Now, I do have a question for you. Do you have any ebony issues?
Oh, of course I do.
Okay.
Yes, I am a
Wonderful.
magazine junkie. I had to get rid of many of them
Oh
because it
my,
was just ridiculous. But yes, I do
okay.
have some. I have plenty.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we have a Q&A for the authors. If anyone has a question, comment, want to share an experience, anything with us or the authors, please feel free to unmute yourself. We're a small group, so you can unmute yourself and just let us know if you have any questions. Mhm.
Well, I have a question. If I can jump in. We've talked about how we didn't have this diversity of books, most of us, when we were kids. So I'm curious, now that there are a lot more stories being told, but we know, still not enough, are there any kinds of stories that you still wish you could find? Anything you feel like is still missing or we don't have enough of?
Uh, I can jump in and
Mhm.
say that I would like to see a lot more stories about people who are alive and doing things right now. There are just so many inspirational stories that we hear about. I don't think people always have to be these historic groundbreakers, like, and I was going to name some people, but I shouldn't because I don't want to take away from any story that has been told. They're all valuable. But, I think about sometimes I meet really neat people who are doing things right now, and I think if we could tell more stories about, um, uh, there's a surgeon that I have in mind, who I know who is one of the few female, Black female, well, she's one of the few female vascular surgeons in the country, but she's absolutely one of the few Black female vascular surgeons in the country. I just think if kids could read more stories coming out right now about people doing things right now, that it would be even um, a more powerful way of showing children that the things that they have on their heart and mind right now that they're interested in, that they absolutely can do that. Um, and then, one day I guess those stories will be history. But I think it's important to show current Black history, not just uh, historical figures that feel sometimes out of reach for children.
And I'd say with traditional publishing, there's a movement toward having more plot-driven historical books. So they'll have a fun story or more of a storyline, but they still introduce characters, contemporary characters, and historical. And I've been working on one, but I'm not really at liberty to give you all the information about it. But you can change a storyline and make it a fun or a more engaging, I wouldn't say that they're not fun, but more engaging storyline and still introduce historical and contemporary groundbreaking people.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi. Good
Hi.
evening. Hi. My name is Desiree, and I'm a huge fan of all of the authors here. So thank you all for your amazing work. And so as a fellow kidlit writer, right, you know that the traditional publishing process, is very slow. It's a slow process. What do you do to stay motivated while you're on submission, or when you hear oh, nobody really wants picture book biographies anymore, and that's something that you're working on. What do you do to stay motivated and to also work on your craft at the same time, kind of in the waiting?
I would say, I know I just answered, but I'd say quickly for myself, this has happened to me because I had a book that was on submission. It's been over a year. And I would urge you to just keep writing because I'm seeing fruits from the labor, things that I worked on 2, 3 years ago, and opportunities that have come to me because I kept writing. So I know it's hard. I know it's so stressful when you're waiting, but I would urge you to continue researching and writing and know that even though you like historical, we still need historical stories. Keep telling your stories and try to keep yourself working is what I would urge you to do.
Mhm.
I was going to
I
say
would, I
that
would
too.
like
I
to,
just want to briefly just jump in and just say, don't listen to anybody that says nobody wants something.
Mhm.
Whatever story you have to tell, find a way to tell it, and a path will become clear to you. So there are all these trends, and people constantly say, publishing doesn't want this, publishing doesn't want that. But when you're passionate about something, you pursue that and don't listen to that.
So
I'd like to jump in and amplify both what Tanya and Dee Dee said, and saying, yes, you need to keep working. It's always good if you are kind of, submitting something, is to start noodling out that next thing that you had in mind. It's a way to keep yourself kind of in flow. And then because you already, well, I mean, you know that it takes a while for something to move through the process, right? Particularly if you are a writer, then you're going to be waiting for somebody else to illustrate it and all those things. So, you know, it's great to just sort of keep thinking about the ideas that you might want to explore, even if it's just the note-taking stage and the, you know, research stage, all those things. You should always, you know, just be, it's a good way to keep yourself not worrying about that one thing and feeling like this is the only book I can do, because it isn't, right? That's never actually the case. And I think anybody who's been in the business for a while, and I can attest that there are some things that never got picked up. They just ended up back in the drawer. And, you know, I just said, all right, we let those go. So you have to be able to sort of say that, all right, this is part of that process. And then the one other thing I would mention, and I think it's important to think about, is that, you know, yeah, so they're always chatter about what's the trend, what's happening, what's coming, what's going. And it may be that, yes, the kind of biography you're writing now will have to simmer for 3-5 years, because in 3-5 years, they're all of a sudden interested in that form again. But it's also interesting, I think, too, to think about, well, what is it that I can do with what I'm doing and make it into something someone else is going to be interested in, that feels of the moment in a way, and like creatively think about how do you work that project. Tanya mentioned writing historical fiction, right? Instead of writing nonfiction, but using historical stories and writing historical fiction. So if you're eager to have that project move forward, do you sometimes think about how to shift it? When I was writing when I first started thinking about writing about Alma Thomas, I was like proposing it to an editor who said she wanted to do picture book biographies about people. And I said, this would be great. And then A Blaze of Color came out, and going, well, look at that. Somebody else just did what I would do. But I didn't lose interest in her. I thought, well, what story can I tell? And so what I ended up telling was a very different story about her. And I was relieved of all the back matter. I didn't have to tell her whole life story. So in a way, it gave me an opportunity to do something different.
And you could
Awesome.
also explore different genres, because for myself, I started out with writing after Sophie Washington. I got my agent with a novel. And so in the meantime, when I was on submission with the novel, I started writing picture books. And I ended up selling 2 picture books when I was waiting on the novel. Had I not kept writing and learning different things, none of that would have happened. So
Yes.
you got to just keep, and it's like, I feel like the character in Inside Out too. You know, the anxiety character when I was on submission, just waiting and waiting. You've got to just keep, you love writing and keep writing. Just keep going.
And I will say too, I mean, that feeling is very real. So acknowledge that, yeah, this is this feels bleak. And just acknowledge it. But I also feel, as Tanya just said, I mean, my process was a 9-year process for my book
Wow.
to get published, from winning the award to getting published. And I could probably write a book about that alone. But I say that to say, in that time, I was just doing further research because it just genuinely interested me. If the book never got done, it was just a topic that I was like, this is really cool. And I just kept digging. And for a while, I mean, I wrote short poems around it. I wrote a monologue that Mrs. Johnson might have had with her models. And so I feel like if you apply it to different genres or different ways of expressing yourself creatively, you'd be surprised what happens when you play. But I would say whatever you decide to take up, let it be something that you say to yourself, could I dedicate the next 10 years of my life and be okay with this if nothing at all ever happened? And I assure you something will happen. And you really can't plan it. There's things that I thought that were going to happen that didn't. There were things that I never would have imagined that happened with the book that have. So I think you just have to be true and consistent to what's in front of you, that's really bringing you joy. And even on the days that it doesn't, the thing that says, I just got to keep going because there's a pull here. There's just a pull that makes me still do it. And then just find ways to playfully create every day with it, or something else entirely, but just create. Be curious and keep creating. Nothing is wasted.
That's so true.
Mhm.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. We can have a whole other session on this theme alone, a topic alone. So that is a great question. I'm also thanking Dee Dee who kicked off, the event by encouraging others to write their stories as well. But we are like in 10 minutes away from our 1 hour event. Normally, we wrap it up between 50 and 60 minutes. So we have our giveaway number 1. I'm just putting it up there so you can see. These are books from a bundle from Makeaway Media. And then we have giveaway 2. We have Miles of Style here as well with 3 other books as well. And we also have giveaway number 3 with Liftoff from Nina Cruz and They Built Me for Freedom by Tanya for giveaway number 3. So now, Liana, do us the honors, and the winners are?
The winner of Bundle 1 is Desiree Stewart, who just asked the question. For Bundle
Yay! Desiree, that's me. That's my congratulations.
And for Bundle 2, we have Diane, I'm not going to say this right, Moraine.
Maureen?
Diane Moraine, and I just ordered a whole bunch of these books. I'm so thankful for this.
Yay!
Congratulations.
I'm at a school that uses direct instruction, but mostly phonics, and I know that story is the way we understand the world and broaden our compassion. So every day I read, but I am 78 years old, and I've been teaching a long time, and the books are so much richer now. Not that there aren't great stories that I love, but they're richer in story and they're richer in characters. So I'm deeply grateful for this, and I have all kinds of notes.
Oh, awesome. We're so happy you're here. Thank you
That's
so much.
wonderful.
And our librarian at school recommended this.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
I got to leave the family, community, school. Oh, there's another one. Meeting early to come be with you.
Well, thank you for being here, Diane. We really appreciate you.
That's
And the work
awesome.
that you're doing
Thank
as
you.
well. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
winner number 3.
Heather Jenkins.
Heather. Oh, Heather. Okay.
I'm
Heather,
sorry I can't turn on my camera. I'm
you're good.
having some camera glitch problems, so I didn't want it to freeze up when you all. I'm so excited. That's the one
Well,
I wanted
congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, wonderful.
So
Okay.
Thank you.
each of the winners I've messaged you, just you can reply to that and to give me your mailing address. So make sure you do that before you sign off.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to again thank you. So the thank you, very special thank you, because if it wasn't for you being here present today, this event would not be. Dee Dee, Tanya, Nina, Lisa, and of course, Leah Lowe and Learner Books as well. Thank you so much. And last but not least, if you found any value in this program, please consider supporting our small organization. You chip in the cost of a coffee cup is tax deductible. All you have to do is just scan the QR code and make sure you are following us as well in all the social media channels. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all, and have a wonderful night, afternoon, or evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Thank you
Thank
all for
you.
being on. Thank
Thank you
you.
all so
Thank
much.
you.
Stay in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Hold on.